I am recording this.
Okay.
But please, no,
Should I
don't.
mute myself?
Huh? No, keep it unmuted. I like it. Listen, I mean, patrons who watch this later, let me know if it's annoying. I think everyone's gonna be just fine and pleased to hear us like interacting with each other. So, I don't know. I like to keep it real, yo. You know.
That's why we love you. At least that's what I do.
So grab scraper, probably some kind of oil. I've got my coconut oil. I also have, if you're not hep on any kind of like salves with CBD in them, like find yourself some. Cannabis externally, so good for inflammation, pain relief, general like just feel gooderies. And we're gonna assess, and while we're assessing, let's breathe. I'm not gonna walk us through anything specifically. So I'm kind of like under two bolsters so I can have a wide-legged, bent-kneed straddle so we can get good access to our wrists. And let me fold up this a little bit. So today is a lot about slowing down and paying attention enough to like really, really small details of what's going on in the hands. So let's go ahead and flip. Let's just actually start with a really gentle position. So fingers pointing forward. I need to move my rugs. Totally out of the way. Since my hands are highlighted. Okay. Hands on the floor, we want to fold forward enough. So, and make sure our forward fold is happening from our hip hinge. We want to take a moment to like roll shoulder blades back and down, feel our scaps fire up. And then as we fold, we're one big unit from our tailbone to our crown. So we're honoring our low back while also bringing weight and pressure into our hands. We don't want a ton. So we're gonna bring our hands in front of us. You're gonna keep leaning forward, maybe bend into the elbows slightly. And let's fire up in our fingertips. So one at a time, dig your pinky into the ground. Then keep your pinky activated, dig your ring finger. Keep that active, dig your middle. Keep all three active, dig your index. And then lastly, dig the thumb. So we're like creating this little claw motion in the ground and just see if anything's firing up in your hands or your wrists. We'll get more into this from a position that I think we can exert more force. So don't worry about too much force right now other than gripping. And with bent elbow, kind of like pulling the ground towards our body. And then our body will inevitably pull towards the ground. Pull, 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 pull. All right, go ahead and release. Wiggle your fingers out. Do a couple wrist rotations. Let's do palm down again, but this time we're gonna flip. I'm not very flexible this way, so my hands have to be pretty close to my body, and I'm probably not needing to fold forward very much. So first, just passively let your body weight push into this, but with our shoulder blades still active, yeah? We don't want our shoulders to shrug up in this exercise at all. So pulling shoulders back and down, finding passive flexion and noticing. So close the eyes, take deep breaths. See if we can notice specific parts of the forearm, fingers, wrists, maybe even pain referring into our neck, our eyes. See where tension is being drawn up. Relax your tongue. And let's go ahead and do our finger fire up. So go ahead and push the pinkies in. Try not to let the other ones fire up. Just pinky. Oh, my ring fingers are struggling to not join the party on this one. Oof. And now, ring finger. But keep the pinky. Again, see if anything's lighting up. Ring finger, or sorry, middle. I skipped middle finger. Oof. Index finger, breathe into the discomfort. Push, push down in. We're clawing into the floor. And thumb. Push all of the fingers in. A little harder. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and release. Ooh, shake it out. Open, close. Like a doll. And circles. Ooh, mercy. And then we're gonna do now fingers, palms up, fingers down. So our elbows are gonna be pulled like into the body. And this one's gonna be harder. We're gonna try our best in a moment to push each finger into the floor backwards. So big breaths. You might need less or more bent elbow depending on a stretch, and just a slight stretch, again, nothing crazy. Right now, I more want us to focus on slowing our breathing down and paying attention to fine details in the body. So let's go ahead and push our pinkies in. Breathe, notice. Push the ring finger. Middle. Index. And lastly, thumb. God, this one's spicy. Push all the fingers down in. Push, push, push. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax and recover. Big breaths. Oh my goodness. Hillary, I'd be curious to know, or like if you want to ask your students. So I've been having all this like left side issue, and I'm honestly wondering if it's from fucking scrolling. No shit. Like I really wonder if some of this stuff is like an overuse injury from our phones. Like, anyways. Yeah. Texting, right? Like, I think we need to be doing these, like, I was fucking around with this stuff in the gym yesterday, and I was just like, ooh, this is, like, necessary, I think. All right. Yeah. Same thing, opposite direction. Fingers pointing in. We're on the tops of our hands. Just assess any kind of tension, tightness, fire, spice. But I also was thinking from, like, a evolutionary perspective. Like, this is the first time in knowing the human history that we've sit this much and that we do this much, like with our digits, like so repetitively, you know? Like I don't think any human behavior looks like that, like pre-technology and typewriters and things like that.
No.
So I think we need to start treating the body differently and like prioritizing movement to combat this new like repetitive lifestyle that we have. All right, ready? Pinkies. And adjust your legs whenever you need to. I just came in more like almost a squat. Ring finger. Middle. Pointer. And lastly, thumb. Push and hold and breathe. And release, shake it out. All right. Yay. Keep your breath heavy, keep it big. We're gonna start massaging, so I don't really care how you're sitting. You could even stand up and do this. So let's go ahead and get some oil. I'm gonna start with my dominant hand, so I'm right-handed, and I'm gonna start with my left forearm, wrist, and go ahead and oil up, like, let's start pretty oily. Come above your elbow just a little bit. Down, oh, I should have put my hair up before I got all greasy. I'll be okay. Wrist, and let's go ahead and like get it into our fingers just a little bit. I should have grabbed a towel, but I'm just going to get a dirty sock. That'll do. And a hair tie real quick. Okay. So scraper, if you have a gua sha, that's perfect. The difference for me between having like a big scraper like this, I really like the bigger tool for my bigger parts of my body, like my legs and my arms. But I do think the gua sha tool for face is good for like wrists because it's for more delicate parts. It's smaller in that way. So I've always been taught, especially with scraping, we mostly want to focus our pressure on the upward motion. You're welcome to glide over the skin on the downward motion, but I would have pressure in and up. And that way, like if there's inflammation, we're pulling it into our lymphatic system to be like flush out of the body. We're not like pushing it down into our fingers. So we're just gonna start to stroke up and pay attention. We're gonna stay in one, just this main like forearm spot. And if you have a smaller tool, you might wanna focus on like thumb line, midline, and pinky line, where your pressure is coming. So pressure on the way up, gliding on the way back. And I kind of like that sensation personally. So I'm kind of going, I'm gonna call this exterior into, well, that's not, thumb, middle, pinky, and then I'll do pinky, middle, thumb, and just start to like, you can even go faster, you can go slower, and I call it that crunchiness will begin to smooth out. Okay, we're gonna stay here for like a minute and just see how much we can work out just some of this general crunchiness, and you don't have to push very hard. And my skin immediately turns red. That's normal, natural. We're increasing blood flow, and then also if you have sensitive skin, it's just gonna be like, oh, something's happening. Okay, once that starts to even and smooth out, then let's go ahead and move to the top side. And again, we're gonna think about thumb, midline, pinky line. And notice if you have any kind of like, I just had a little like nerve, like ping, like go up my forearm. So pay attention to anything like that. Sometimes if I find a ping, I'll take the knife edge part of my scraper and like follow that line. Woo! And usually you're gonna find like a little trigger point closer up to your elbow. So I've been trying to express to people like when they have knee issues that the reason I can't just give them knee exercises is because the hip and the ankle and the foot have to do a lot with the knee. It's the same with our wrists, our elbow, our shoulder complex, and our scapula is one big line as well. So sometimes we might think we have elbow issues, but in reality we've got scap issues. So that's why today we're gonna like focus on forearms, wrists, and then also our upper back a little bit, and acknowledge that sometimes where pain is coming from is a symptom, not a solution. Like that's not where we have to focus our time and attention. We may need to actually focus it on strengthening, opening, releasing in a different area that's connected in that chain. Oh. Anyways, meanwhile, I'm up to just digging into this trigger point I found in my forearm. So you do you. Some other things I like to do, usually we've got tension, get into the hands, and I like to flex my hand when I do this, scraping around this pad of the thumb, over each little pad of our fingers on our palm. I like to get this pointier part and go up and down in between my tendons on the backside of my hand. I also love to make little tiny scrapes all around my wrist. And the reason I like to be tiny is because there is a lot going on here and we need to be gentle. We don't want to cause problems, but I like to do the front of my wrist while it's extended in this way, and then the back of my wrist while it's flexed. And just following our intuition on what feels pressure-wise good, rhythm, the part of the tool, like flip it around, try different areas of your tool on different parts. And we're literally like, I think this is a pretty intuitive art. Like rolling, would you say it's, yeah? Yeah. And I think if you're really new to touching your body, you might be freaked out by how like crunchy or like, it's not like bad, but it does, in my opinion, crunchiness looks like a lack of hydration, which hydration isn't just like drinking water and electrolytes, it's also movement and circulation, and so when we've got crunchy fascial tissue, it's thirsty for something, it's not nourished, and this is going to increase blood flow, and we're creating movement, really small, refined movement. Oh God, it feels so good. All right. And then we're gonna remain on this side, and we're actually gonna get up into our trap and our shoulder as much as we can. This is when, having a buddy with the scraper is nice. I'm kind of annoyed that I have this. I wonder if I can take this off without flashing everybody. No sudden movements are allowed today. All right, that strap was like right on my neck where I wanted to scrape. So we're gonna lean away, maybe do a little assessment like we've done before in neck releasing classes. Tilt forward, tilt back, find a spicy part. I tend to be tilted forward a little bit, which also exposes that big ropey part. And, oh. I equally put pressure in this area of my body in the like swipe up and back. And I concentrate more about moving my head than I do about moving my scraper different places. Because once we get more into the front, I would be much more gentle and use a smaller part of my tool. So if you want to move to the front of the neck, you would kind of drop the back of your head back. And just be really gentle and careful in these areas. And then once we get down, if you're tracing this SCM muscle down into the attachment point in our collarbone, this is when I'll also knife edge my scraper or my gua sha and just exert a little bit of pressure down in that ravine. And again, we can move the head around that tension point. We can do scraping. The other day I clearly got like too aggressive because I made myself like sore. More sore than I would like to, so I've backed off a little bit with this area. The last thing I'm going to do is, because also I feel like chest tightness is a huge thing we also need to be being mindful of with sitting all day long. And that can cause issues in our scaps and in our shoulders. So we're lastly going to do just some pec massage. And then what feels really nice is, again, either finding the pointier part, if you have a bigger scraper like me, or if you're on a gua sha, just turn it on its edge and go like in those interstitial parts, so the in-between parts of your rib cage. I've prescribed this now to a couple people. You can do this easily in the shower. If you put oil on in the shower before you're like super wet, it'll stay nice and lubed up for you even while you get wet, and then the water will kind of roll off of it. So that's a nice place to do it, relaxing. And again, it's just a nice intuitive practice to tap us into like, where am I holding on tension and how much can I release with different tools and movements. All right. Hopefully that was enough for that side. Take a moment and just like, I don't know, roll your wrist and your arm and your shoulder and your neck through space. Check it out, see how it feels. Anything to share, Hillary? How are you feeling?
That side I just did feels more liberated, and now the other side is like more like, do me.
Hey.
Well, you know, it's like louder now that this side is meltier.
Ooh, I love that. Okay, let's do everything we just did on the other side on this other side. And just know, I'm just going to validate that if you're now on your non-dominant side, you're not going to be maybe as finessing with your touch, and you might get more tired more quickly. That's okay, because I think the more we practice this, the more we will build that ability. I'm just going to go ahead and slather my whole arm in coconut oil because it feels nice.
Street, won't you come inside, please, baby? No, we don't want to let them guys see. Now I know, damn, cuz she just want to eat the time.
Is that pumping through Zoom?
Yes.
Okay. It's a little too upbeat for me in this moment, but so here we go. Remember to breathe deeply. Trust your touch. Maybe while you're doing this, add in the practice of some mantras, some like affirmative self-talk. Thank you, body. Sometimes even like to thank my tension. Either it's a sign of hard work or a sign of neglect. Either way, I'm here to honor. why my body feels tense. And if there is like that element of spaciousness that I can invite into the physical body. Hi, Annie.
Hi.
She's like, ooh, I sense that there's loving happening in this room. Let me go get some.
We always cuddle when I'm on the floor.
Oh, I love it.
Hi.
Hi, baby.
High five.
She has such good energy. I love her.
Yeah. My spirit animal.
Just like rolling, I really do think that this could be a nice warm up for a workout. Outside of being really oily, that might not be like the best thing. Maybe do it at home and then like shower off and then go to the gym or something like that. But I do think sometimes if we just rush into movement because it's on our to-do list, right? Like, oh, I gotta fucking go to the gym. And then we like hammer ourselves at the gym like with an already rigid body. Like, are we actually doing what our body needs, you know? And I kind of feel like if there's time for only one, that this might be the thing to do, you know? And if you have time to do both, how cool would that be, you know? Whether that's roll out, stretch out, like properly warm the body up for its more aggressive things that are coming. I have no idea how long we like scraped on the other side, so I'm just gonna feel into it. I'm assuming we probably still have like good 3 minutes. So take your time on the front side, back side of your forearms, getting into our wrists flexed on the backs, or I'm gonna call it the underbelly, the underside. Extended on the top side. Maybe going between our tendons on top of our hands. Oh, my left hand's starting to get tired. What's nice about tools like this, though, is that we can just hold it in our non-dominant hand, or whichever hand is holding it, and then we can exert pressure against the tool instead of like having to exert force from maybe our tired digits. And usually I like to scrape my palm, and into this before, but a little more flexed, fingers open, like finding the space, and then scraping in those spacey parts. Oh. The more like deeply I get into this, just even my own practice of like caring for my body, it's really opening up like a patient and more compassionate lens to interactions with humans, or my human experience, just knowing that like everything is like a part of a greater whole. And if I hyper fixate on one tiny little part of the problem and I forget about the whole, like I don't think I'll ever be able to solve or, I don't know, like loosen up the grip on control. And it just reminds me that everything is connected and that there isn't just some simple, easy solution, I think, for most things in life. I think most things need multiple solutions. It's an and, it's not a but or an or. It's like, and this, and this, and this is what's going to help solve the problem. It's not like, let's isolate this one thing and hyper focus on that. Can I zoom out and look at my body as an ecosystem, and one tiny thing is just a message about something else? All right, and if you haven't yet gotten to your neck, let's do a little love on our neck, trap, chest, pec, ribs, collarbone. I'll make a post about this on Patreon, and I'll put links for the tools that I own. This one's just a scraping tool that I got off Amazon. And then I most recently did get a stainless steel gua sha, but it's actually like, it's so thin that it's almost sharp, and I actually don't like it on my face. So I do like my stone one, I guess, a little bit better because it's more, maybe because it's more porous, it feels less aggressive. Oh my goodness. So I'll post, sorry, I found a really spicy spot that's like speaking to me. I'll make a post about all the different tools that I have, and links to them if you want. Oh my goodness. So another little hint about body talk is sometimes, yes, the problem might be all like this left chain. Like I know my wrist problem is a whole thing from like my upper back to my wrist. But also there's going to be referred shit happening. So I think I've got this like gnarly referred shit on this side that's like spicing up into my eye and like back to the other side. So also know that, again, if we just focus on the left side thinking our problem's there and we don't just assess what's happening on the right, we may be missing another part of the conversation of what could give us relief. So I always say what you do on one side, at least do a little bit on the other. Doesn't have to be completely.
Just because it's there doesn't mean it's there.
Just because it's there doesn't mean it's there. Is that what you said? Yeah. Hillary Brown.
Instead of like being parts of a car that are, put together, we're like a tree. So it's all connected.
Yeah, we're much more like a rainforest, right?
Yeah.
Than a car. Or just a tree. I mean, I think a tree is beautiful. Ah! Woo! What's up, spicy side? Okay, let me get into the front a little bit. I don't know. I think we've maybe been at this for 15, 20 minutes, which I think is not like an absurd amount of time. You could definitely do this faster. You could condense this into 3 minutes on each side in the shower and just hit your big points. All right. Take a moment, degrease yourself, do what you need to do. Put my top on so I don't accidentally flash anybody. If I can, maybe. Why was this so easy last time? Okay. All right, we're gonna do what we just did with our hands, but with a new spicier element. We're gonna be in, you can take your props with you, but we're gonna be in a hero's pose, not a straddle. And let me take my bolster for a minute. So yesterday, so this is where we're gonna get really active, and where before we were a little bit active in the fingers, now we're gonna become really active everywhere else, including the fingers. And you can get as aggressive as you want and make this into a core exercise by, literally we're gonna be coming onto the tops of our feet and like holding ourselves in this position and then activating our fingers and gripping into the ground. And we're gonna do it in all of its phases. So we're gonna start with fingers forward, then fingers back. We're not gonna do it on the tops of our hands, but we're gonna go to the side this time with our fingers and then inward with the fingers. So we're gonna make kind of like a full rotation with our hands. And we're literally, the purpose of it, we're gonna play a little game of like, how far forward can I go? I mean, you might end up in an entire like toe stand on the tops of your feet if you wanted to. Okay, but I found like an isometric hold about here was like good for most positions. And then I got my abdominals fired up and it felt really nice like in my core as well. So let's think about pulling those shoulders back and down. Coming into kind of this like primal froggy jump. Take a few times, maybe just come forward in an extreme flexion. And back, find like where you want your hands. And then when you're ready, we're gonna push into the floor so much that our butt starts to lift. Fire up your fingers before you go any higher. Pinky, ring, middle, index, thumb, push, 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 hold. Pull your shoulders back and down. 4, 3, 2, and drop the knees. Drop the release. Let's go fully backwards. This one's fun. And you might have your hands more. Like, I really think like just kind of like take a moment to come forward and back and bounce and find where you can exert force on the floor and pick yourself up. And once you pick yourself up a couple inches, then we're gonna fire up our fingers more. Really think about each individual finger in the floor. Bend into the elbows, use your upper back, use your core. Hold and press. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Drop knees. Whoo! Hands in, into the body, so in towards each other. Still palms down. You can interlace them a little bit if that just feels good to you. Like I have my fingers kind of like my index fingers and middle fingers overlapped. Come forward, come back a little bit, move your wrists through space. Press into the floor. Let those knees lift. Push tops of the feet into the floor, back at you. Roll shoulders back and down. Push all of your fingers in. Pinky, ring, middle, index, thumb. Woo! 4, 3, 2, and release. Are you hot yet?
Yes.
Okay, last one, we're gonna have fingers out. So we're kind of making this like, my wrists are maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches apart from each other. Figure out what feels good. Rock a little bit front and back. When you're ready, push down, pick up. Fire up those fingers. Thumbs, index, middle, ring, pinky, push. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax. Shake it out. Oof. Ay, 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 ooh. All right. We're gonna hook hands and sit up nice and tall, pull apart. This might be where I'm gonna grab some, I wanna stay in hero's pose, but I want a little bit more support. Come on, here we go. So we're gonna roll our shoulders back and down. We're gonna create tension by pulling. Choose one hand right now. My right hand is my top hand, okay? Hooked onto my left wrist in the bottom. Roll the shoulders back and down and then pull into each other, your hands. Let's go ahead and shrug up, continue to pull forward, continue to pull, drop shoulders down, continue to pull, scaps come back and rise up and keep that tension in your fingers. One more time. And you might just like bring it into your chest all together and leave it there the whole time. Pull your shoulders down and back. Keep that engagement between the pulling apart of the hands. Let's do 3. Shrug up, rotate back, forward, depress down, squeeze shoulder blades together, shrug up, and release it all. Let's switch hands. We're gonna do the same forward motion, and then we'll switch hands again, and we'll go backwards and switch hands again and go backwards. So finding your little lock grip, other hand on top this time, hug it in or keep it away from the body, either way. We're pulling apart. When you're ready, shrug up, pull forward as we're pulling apart, depress down and back, up, shrug, keep pulling, that's the hard part. Come forward, depress down, pull back, shrug up, forward, down, back, we're almost there, and relax, release. Oh my God, these things make my body so hot. Like, it's crazy to me how hot I get. So hot. Let's do one more round of those pickups. Yeah, I feel like we should give our hands a break. And then we'll come back and do the backwards motion of our scapular circles. After, I think let's just choose your 2 hardest. For me, I don't even know, they all feel hard, but I think I'm gonna go backwards, and I think I'm gonna go out to the side are my 2. So figure out, choose your 2 that you want to be percentage of 2. When you're ready, push in, lift up. Bend elbows slightly, don't roll into the shoulders, don't slump into our scapulas. Peel those back and down, hold. Hold. All the fingers, push in. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Drop and release, shake it out. Ooh, does that make your core shake? Yeah, me too. Shaky core, we love it. Okay, choose your second hand position. I guess we will do this again, so just leave the other 2 for the other time we'll do it. And when you're ready, find your balance, pick up, push tops of the feet into the floor, roll shoulders back and down, find your core, then find each of your fingers, digging them into the floor. And then maybe see if you can lift a little higher. 4, 3, 2, and release 1. Whew, mamacita. Who turned the heat on?
Hey, Jen.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Oh, I love you.
I love you too.
Thanks for playing.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh my gosh, you're so welcome. How'd it feel?
So good. Always. Love your guts.
Talk soon, love you too.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, let's keep going. So we're gonna do our pull apart, and we're gonna take our shoulders in the backwards motion. So I've got my right hand, it's gonna be on the top. This time I'm pulling into each other, pulling apart, hugging into my heart space, shrugging up, rolling back, pinching, and pulling back and down, forward, up, back, down. I don't know, maybe into my chest kind of collapses my elbows. I'm gonna keep those nice and taut. Nice. Switch sides. Same thing again. Slow. Go through that full scapular rotation. Keep pulling apart in the hands. Whew. Relax, shake it out, ba ba ba. If you want to do another set of the pickups, you can do it. I'm over it. I think that was just good in between. The last thing I want to do, and then we'll wrap up today's little wrist, forearm, shoulder girdle, is two-ball therapy, some two-ball therapy rolling stuff. So we're going to keep them in either their sock, or like I've got this one in its duo ship. You may want a block. And we're going to straddle this on our midline, so that if I were to roll forward, I'm going to feel it in my armpit more. If I roll back, I'm going to feel it in my shoulder and my scapula. I usually like doing it against the floor, so I'm just going to come down onto the center point. So you can roll a little bit up and back. What I'm going to focus on is rotating so that more of the pressure is coming into my armpit. And then I'm going to just work on rotating my shoulder in different directions. I'm actually going to use this for my head. Moving my shoulder through different planes, subtle movements, bending at the elbow. Oh, there we go. You may need to come more onto your stomach, but the ball will go like through your armpit, and you are going to start to feel some spicy things. I'm just going to hang out. I do have to have my head propped up a little bit to feel this. Here it is. Allowing that to open up armpit. Relax on the face. And then we'll rotate more backward. Woo! And there's like a whole land of spiciness back here. So I'm gonna turn on some music. We're gonna just roll through space, intuitively in our bodies, and work on any kind of scap, shoulder business that might be happening and affecting us all the way down to our wrists. And then that's how we'll complete our time together today. Oh, if you have more time, maybe continue exploring with a single ball in your upper back, or what does it feel like if you place the balls between your shoulder blades and like roll side to side. This is just one of my favorite ways to get into a lot of deep shoulder issues. Just a reminder that the reason I've been doing this practice is honestly to remind me that like subtle things are really powerful, simple and subtle things. So you might not even have to move. Or if you do move, it can be just like the tiniest, most subtle little rock. Like what I got going on here is so spicy. So don't judge the movement. Rather experience what's happening in the body and allow that to change you in ways that you desire. And I made this specifically for some patrons who wanted to work on wrist recovery and strength. I really do think the combination of scraping and massage and then strengthening things like we did in that pickup pike position are really good ways to start to rehab the wrist. Just make sure you go slowly, and then the stronger you're feeling, the more you want to test it. You could be in a full pike press. I think anything arm balancing, handstands, hanging work also. There isn't really anything I haven't started into TRX work with on Patreon, but I think I will. Hanging can also be really good for our wrists. But again, we need to look at this whole picture. Sometimes we have an injury in our wrist because there's a deeper imbalance happening in our shoulders. Ah, that was so yummy. Okay, let's get the other side, shall we? Big breaths. Sometimes just the weight of our body is enough. You can play around with the movement right now. Even just this twisting in my forearm is So it's not just from the shoulder, also what movements can we create from the elbow? Again, scap, shoulder, elbow, wrist, hand. It's all this beautiful. Oh my goodness, graciouses. We can roll more back. It's gonna get back closer to our scaps. Oof. Oh my goodness. Real spicy. If you haven't heard me say it, a lot of times our breath will let us know if we're too deep in the work. Okay? If you're grasping or holding your breath, too much pain. Okay? We want to be able to maintain a connection with our breathing. If we can't, then we need to stop what we're doing and come out of the pain and more into discomfort, finding that ground where, yes, something is happening, but we can maintain a softness with it. It's a rib circle. It's really making this therapy ball dig into some deep pressure points. Clearly I need to do this whole thing again, like on Friday. It's feeling so good. But for now, let's wrap it up. Wrap up what you're up to. Ooh, mamacita. Let's just take a moment to come back to how we began today, which I was on. Oh, now I feel stoned. That's dope. Love that for me, and hopefully for you. So we're in this wide-legged position where we began, pushing into the floor. Now I definitely feel tiredness, like my forearms feel tired. But we're just gonna do that gentle forward, one finger each into the floor. See how we feel. Push pinky, ring finger, middle, index, thumb, grip in, grip in. Release, let it go. See how that feels compared to where we began today. Opposite direction. This just feels more accessible. Less stiff and tight. Here we go with thumb. I went the opposite way this time. Thumb, index, middle, ring, pinky. I'm definitely feeling the most still on my left ring and pinky side. That's just information. I'm going to gather that up. Continue this practice. Continue to maybe focus on where those fingers radiate. So more on this pinky middle side kind of follow that. It's probably into my back side, and then it's probably gonna be opposite on this side. So I might lean a little bit into that. Let's do tops of the hands. So fingers in, top of the hand, push pinky, ring, middle, index, thumb, release. Back of the hand, one last little check-in point. Here we go, pinky, ring, middle, index, thumb, pushing into the floor. 4, 3, 2, and release. Take a moment to open and close, assess how the body feels, kind of have like a forearm pump going on. And I'm going to continue to pay attention to my body throughout the day. Thank you for being here. Give yourself a big old squeeze. I love you. I love you, body. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. Send me your requests. I'm all about these requests. Bring it on.